Hello, foolish mortals, and don't be afraid. It's skincare with a scare, where frights are made. While I cleanse and tone, the chills won't fade. Scary tales in skincare, it's the perfect trade. Hello, friends, my name is Kaylee Long, and this is Skincare with a Scare, where I read scary stories off the internet and do skincare at the same time. This is my 6th video, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling scary. I'm feeling good. I'm sorry I haven't made a video in a while. It was like a jump, like I filmed one at Christmas and then I had just edited it, but I've been going through some things which I'll tell you about. But today we are reading from the Reddit thread, what is the most mysterious / paranormal thing you've witnessed? Let me, I don't really know if there's anything else to go over before I start taking off my makeup, but if this is your first time here, my name is Kaylee Long, as I said, and I'm all about the spooky, the funny, and the weird, and I also really like skincare. So that's how my baby Skincare with a Scare was formed. Now we're here. So if scary things in skincare are something you are interested in, well, maybe subscribe if you want. It's free. You can come and go as you please. Also, if you want, like this video, it really helps me out. All right, let's get into it. That was a good one. Wow, I'm on a roll. Okay, great. You put this on. I'm trying to make myself wear more color because in all my videos, I've got on like a black or a gray shirt. So look at the turquoise. Do you call this turquoise? Blue? Green? I think it's turquoise. I think it looks good with the pink. I should also get a new headband. I've been wearing the same one. But where have I been? Let me tell you. So I have the genetics of a gerbil, meaning like, I get sick very easily. Ever since I moved to California, I'm in LA, if you don't know. And ever since I moved out here, I have never been so sick in my life. Just last year alone, I had COVID, the flu, strep, another viral infection. And then I think I was just like sick again. Like I went to the doctors and they were like, well, you're not testing positive for any of the common things, but you're sick. And in addition to that, I have really bad allergies. A lot of things make me sneeze, break out in hives. I even have an EpiPen. It's not really related to whatever, but I've just got a lot of things that I have to deal with. And I also am a singer and an actor. If you didn't know, now you do. And I was practicing my singing and it was like my voice was getting tired after like 4 songs, which is not normal for someone who's been singing professionally for almost 10 years like I have. I pretty much know how to like take care of my voice. Like I just was like, why am I struggling? So I really thought of something on my vocal cords and I was like, great. I've got fucking nodes or something. So I go to an ENT because the only way to like look at your vocal cords is to stick the camera down your nose and down your throat. It's an awful, well, I hate it, but I mean, there are worse things, right? But I don't like it. I don't like that sensation. So I go to an ENT, I tell them what's going on, and they do a 3D scan of like my whole head, nose, ears, whatever. And then they also stick the camera down my throat and they're like, good news, nothing is wrong with your vocal cords. And I was like, okay, great. But like, why am I having this problem? And they were like, we think you are getting cobblestone cords from your post-nasal drip. And I was like, what are cobblestone cords? So basically my cords were just getting really inflamed very easily. Like I was doing everything right, singing healthily, but like my mucus was messing with my vocal cords. So they suggest all these things that we can do. I get a turbinate reduction. I think that's basically like liposuction in your nose. I got something called like Clarifix, which is it like deadens the nerves in your nose to help you like not get sinus infections, which me always getting sick. Also, another thing is like I would sneeze on a good day like 10 times a day. On a bad day, I'm not kidding, I would sneeze like 20 to 30 times. I'm not exaggerating. I would always have tissues on me. It was miserable. It was a hard knock life. And they did a few other things. They put like some balloons in my nose and did some dilation in my ears and in my nose to like give me more breathing room. And honestly, it was the hardest thing I've ever had to heal from. Like healing your face, crazy. I don't know how people get plastic surgery as frequently as they do, because that was a bitch. It has definitely made me rethink ever wanting to do anything to my face because it was really hard to heal. But let me tell you, I have noticed a difference. I'm still healing and I will still be healing for a couple more weeks, but I am not sneezing as much. Today alone, I may have sneezed once, if at all. And I'm filming this video at 7:30 p.m. And to have only sneezed once at 7 by the time like all day and it be 7:30 p.m. is like crazy. crazy. It's unheard of. Like, I didn't know that there was a way to live like this. Like, I had no idea. And the healing after my procedure, I had to do nasal rinses 3 times a day, and I'm still rinsing, but I would do it again in a heartbeat. So if you are someone with like really bad allergies or you get sick a lot, go to an ENT, tell them what's going on, and make your life better. Because I wish I would have done it sooner. It was a bitch, at least for me. My healing process sucked, but everyone's different, and it does take me longer to heal from things than other people. So, you know, I had a friend who did some similar things. I had 5 things done. I think she had 3 or 2 things done, and she was like up and at 'em in 3 days, like normal. Me, it took me like a week to kind of feel normal. So everyone's different. Don't let me like say that to tear you, but I don't know. I'm just really grateful to be feeling better and for it to hopefully like help my singing, to help my day-to-day life. Like, I shouldn't have to go through 5 tissues a day. Like, that's not normal. Like, I shouldn't have to do that. So anyways, I'm feeling very grateful. It was a bitch. It was a fucking bitch, but I'm doing much, much better. If you have any other questions about like what I did, I can like comment down below and talk about it, but I don't want to, you know, go on longer than I already have about this, but that's where I've been healing. So yeah. Okay, I got all my makeup off. Let me give my face a quick wash and then we will get into today's stories. 1 sec. I'm clean. Roll up my sleeves. Again, we are reading from the Reddit thread. What is the most mysterious / paranormal thing you've witnessed? Hyperroll Down writes, scariest moment of my life happened while my friend and I were camping in eastern Canada as teenagers. We decided to sleep in this abandoned camper we had found in a large forest that was near our town. It had been there so long that small trees had grown around it. We'd stumbled across it when we were exploring a few months back and thought it would be cool and brave to sleep there for a night. So one weekend we did it. We arrived after dark because we had gotten lost trying to find the camper. We had a really low power flashlight, so it made it even more difficult. Once we had finally found it, we opened the rusty door and stepped in. The sounds inside the camper were shrill and echoey. There were typical camper things thrown about. Cups, empty cans, swollen Pulp Fiction novels. Already tired, we holed up in one end of the camper where the bed had originally been, before the cushions had rotted away to almost nothing. A long hallway stretched the length of the camper, so we could basically see from end to end. It was a miserable night. There were several rats living there. I saw them staring at us from a chewed out part of the ceiling. When the wind blew outside, the camper would shriek and groan. We even thought we could hear a bear outside too. Still, we faked bravery and acted like we were having a good time, but we were on edge. At some point, I woke up from an uncomfortable sleep. I sat up to adjust myself when I noticed some movement out of the corner of my eye. At the other end of the camper, there was a small window, and I looked and I saw a man's silhouette. He was staring straight at me from outside. At first, I thought it was a weird shape of a tree or something, but when I moved a bit to get a better look, the person clearly reacted, then froze. My heart was pumping, and I woke my friend immediately saying, "Someone is here," over and over again in a whisper, not taking my eyes off his profile. He woke up and immediately I nodded towards the window. He saw him too. We whispered frantically about who it could be and why he was staring at us. And for the next 10 minutes, no joke, we stared him down. The longer we stared at him, the more frightened we got. Occasionally, he would move, but always keeping his eyes locked on us. Eventually, I shouted at him, "Hey!" No reaction. My friend was braver than me and decided to shine the flashlight at him. As soon as he did, we realized our horrible mistake. It wasn't a window at all on the other side of the camper. It was a mirror. We had been staring ourselves down from the very start. Completely idiotic. Still, it was the most fearful, relieving, and funny moment of my life that I'll never forget. The closest to paranormal I've ever been. Sometimes at night, I get it. You know, you think you see things, and also sleeping in a camper in the woods. Yeah, I'm sure if I saw something that resembled a woman with long hair, I'd freak out. I'd be relieved it was my own reflection, but I would also probably react the same. So I get it. I'm glad it was just the reflection, because could you imagine just, and it's you, but, or you're staring and it's not you, like you're staring at some random person in the woods outside of the window. Like, that's awful, like awful scary. That's so scary, but funny that it was their reflection. Our Camp 305 writes, I posted this a few months ago in a similar thread. Apologies for the length. Back in 2007, my grandpa finally lost his 20-year battle with leukemia. My grandma couldn't manage very well, being alone in the house they'd lived in together for almost 60 years. We moved my grandma into an assisted living residence a few months later, and for insurance insurance reasons, vacant property, my parents asked if I'd like to move into the house so that I could watch the house and also move out and not live at home. I said absolutely. I remember right after he passed, strange things started happening. The portrait we had of him in the living room fell off its hook. Picture frames containing pictures of him flipped onto their front during the night. I didn't mind though, because I thought my grandma was making it up. Before I moved in, my family got a big dumpster so we could clean out some of the clutter in the house. Since we'd spend most of the day cleaning and it was summer, we'd bring the family dog with us. My grandpa loved our dog dearly, but since he passed, my dog wouldn't go down to the basement anymore, where my grandpa spent most of his time in his office. She refused to go into the basement at all and barked at the stairwell several times. This was weird, since our dog never barked. It finally made me think he's here. I moved in shortly after. While I lived there, things went missing all the time. I had bought a new lock set to change the back door lock, brought it home and put it in the cupboard to tackle on the weekend. A few days later, I'd go to change the lock and it's gone. After a week of looking around, I finally found it in the trunk of my uncle's old BMW, which he stored in the garage, and I just so happened to be looking in the car. My grandpa was always a prankster, so I came to almost expect these occurrences. He used to wake up at 5:30 every morning to listen to the early news on the radio in the kitchen. I'd wake up some mornings and the radio would be on. I often heard typewriter noises coming from his office in the basement. It became comforting. I found myself talking to my grandpa out loud, having conversations with him. I missed him. After about 6 months, suddenly, I wasn't hearing any noises anymore. Nothing was going missing, and the radio wasn't turning on at 5:30. I shrugged it off for the first few days, but it started to worry me. I went back to my parents and grabbed the dog and brought her back. She was apprehensive at first, but entered the house. There was an issue though. Every time she'd been over since my grandpa died, as I mentioned earlier, she refused to go downstairs. This time though, she went downstairs and she went right to his office. Nothing was any different about the office, but she wasn't barking, she wasn't pacing, she wasn't doing anything. That was when I realized he was gone. I broke down and suddenly I felt incredibly alone. Even though it had been about 8 months since he died, it was the first time that I really felt he was gone. Edit. Thanks for all the kind words, everyone. I'm grateful for what I was able to experience in that house when I lived there. Just to clarify, this all happened in 2008. I appreciate all the very kind DMs offering to talk if I need it. I've long since grieved and am quite okay, but appreciate all of your offers nonetheless. To those who think I made this up, there's really no way for me to prove that I didn't. Whether you believe me or not doesn't matter to me. If any of you know me personally, I'm one of the least capable creative writers I know. I seriously couldn't make this stuff up. Me, as Kaylee, both of my grandpas have passed away, sadly, but I think I'm okay that they didn't hang around. I don't think I would have been as chill as that person was. Yeah, I love you, grandpas, but please don't come around. I think the radio turning on, hearing the typewriter in the basement, that would not have comforted me. But you know, everyone's different. Everyone grieves differently. Everyone senses things differently. I think I am just, I'm a psycho, and I don't think I could have handled it, not in real life. But that's just me. Hey, you know, everybody to each his own. Live your truth. Okay, let me wash this off and then I'll do something else. And then I'll read another story. I'm gonna use one of these 24 karat gold face masks. You know, I got these from Marshall's. Couldn't possibly be real gold, right? I don't know. I'm trying to do ASMR. That's the opposite of ASMR. I wish I could do an ASMR skincare with a scare, but I don't think I could whisper the whole time. I'm not there yet. We'd have to do that one in chunks. Film over a few days. Clean. It says lifting, illuminating, and soothing. It's just what I need. Let me be your bodyguard. I have Beyonce's Bodyguard stuck in my head, which I'm seeing her here in LA on May the 1st. We're almost a month away from that concert. I cannot believe it. Let me peel the nose down. Oh, these things are always too big for my face, so I have to like fold it over. Next story. Primes for real writes, I'll be the first to say that all this stuff could have taken place in my head. The mind is a freaky thing and can play some pretty trippy tricks on you. Whenever I was scared as a kid, my dad always told me that in life, you should not be scared of a ghost. Fear the living because they can actually hurt you. In my late teenage years, I came into some money after my father died, and I had received an inheritance from him. At the time of my dad's passing, he and my mom owned a cabin up in Oregon by Mount Bachelor. The cabin had been put up for sale since my mom could no longer afford the payments, and renting it out wasn't covering the payments either. The cabin was set to go into the market for sale in less than a month, and was in the process of finalizing all the paperwork with a realtor and a lawyer. So for that month's time, the cabin was not going to be rented out any longer and was going to be vacant. I saw this as a chance to get away for a while and clear my head in light of all the things going on. I quit work, packed up my snowboarding gear, grabbed my dog, and headed up in my dad's car to the cabin. Now, this was our family cabin that my parents rented out throughout the year when we were not using it. I had keys to the cabin and also had a code for the alarms, so I didn't feel the need to stop at the rental management company and advise them of my stay. This had nothing to do with the coming story, but I felt the need to mention it anyways. My first 2 days at the cabin were normal, and nothing out of the unusual happened. Spent my days playing with my dog in the snow, snowboarding, and in the evenings playing PlayStation or listening to music. I had already stocked up on food, cigarettes, and liquor, so I was pretty much a shut-in, aside from the occasional out of the house to hit the slopes. With my dog as my company and DVD and PlayStation as entertainment, I was quite content and started to feel relaxed after all the drama that had preceded my outing. The cabin itself was 2 stories. Bottom story had the living room and a side guest bedroom, along with a small kitchen. Upstairs had another 2 rooms, along with a walkout balcony attached to the master bedroom. Most of my time was either spent in the living room, kitchen, or master bedroom. I never ventured out into the other rooms and always kept the doors leading into them shut. Open doors to dark rooms always creeped me out. Anyhow, the 3rd day came around and I was going through my usual routine of playing with my dog, his name was Midnight, and he's also since passed, playing video games and watching DVDs. That day, it was pretty heavy snowfall, so I did not feel like tracking down the hill to the main road to my car and decided to stay in. That's when things started to get a bit weird. In our area, there were only 2 other cabins adjacent to ours, maybe a block from each other. All the other cabins, aside from these 2, were a mile away from ours. Surrounding us was mostly forest and very tall pine trees. Tall. This is important for later. Both these cabins were empty, and from the past couple of days, I knew that no one was currently staying there. Okay. Enough background. I'm going to jump to the weirdness. Around midday, while outside, my dog and I noticed what looked like footprints in the snow around the area surrounding our cabin. It was still snowing, so the footprints looked semi-fresh, like someone had been there in the last 20 to 30 minutes before me. I thought that maybe someone was staying in the cabin near me, and maybe I didn't notice. Maybe they were shut-ins like me. Alright, whatever. The prints led away from my cabin and they disappeared into the snow towards the denser part of the trees. I disregarded the footprints and went back inside. Nighttime came around and I decided to head to bed. My dog Midnight was laying in bed with me when his ears perked up in a standstill, listening position. This was followed by him quickly jumping off the bed and running downstairs to the living room. I laid in bed and stayed silent. I was kind of freaked out and could hear him moving around downstairs back and forth. After around 5 minutes, he ran back upstairs to me and started doing his doggy dance for the sign that he had to go outside to pee. Shit. Well, fine. I can't say no to him, so we both went downstairs to the outside driveway for him to do his thing. Only, he didn't want to pee. As soon as we were outside, he started to pull on his leash, trying to drag me to where he wanted me to go. He kept looking in the dense part of the trees, where the prints had been earlier, but he also kept sniffing the side of the house and looking towards the roof. After he figured out that I was not going where he wanted, he sat himself down and just stared into the darkness. A bit unusual for him, but alright. Maybe there was a forest animal out there that he wanted to chase down, but fuck this. I did not want to chase anything, so I pulled him back inside and we both headed back upstairs. Around half an hour later, I was laying in bed when I heard what sounded like hooves walking on the roof. It was only a series of around 6 steps, and I rationalized that it could be a pine cone falling from a tree onto the roof, or maybe a kind-hearted forest animal running around. But here's the thing. The steps seemed to be spaced apart like a man's length stride. So it was really freaking me out. Midnight also heard the noises and was quick to run to the balcony screen door, expecting me to let him out. Alright, you know what? I'm a tough guy, and at the time considered myself to be fairly well built and strong enough to handle myself. So I grabbed my coat and shoes, along with my cigarette and a flashlight, and went out onto the balcony. Fuck it, right? As soon as I was outside, I lit up my cigarette and started canvassing the roof with my light. Nothing there. And the snow on the top was undisturbed. Weird. It must have been in my head. What about Midnight hearing the noise? Maybe he was feeding off my paranoia. I started to calm down and relax again. By the way, I am shaking right now and my heart is beating as hard as it can as I type this. My eyes started to adjust to the darkness, and I kept smoking and just staring at the stars in the trees next to our cabin. That's when I saw it. In a tree that was a little taller than our cabin, around 20 feet from the balcony, I saw what looked like a man crouched in a squatting position between two branches. It was squatting on one branch and its arms extended above its head, holding onto the branches above it. What the fuck is that? I wasn't sure if I was really seeing this thing and stood just staring and sat there motionless. I noticed Midnight stand up and start prancing behind me and lightly barking at the same time. The thing did not move. I put my cigarette out and was debating on shining the light in the thing's direction, but something in my head was screaming not to. So I walked backwards to the inside of my room and pulled Midnight with me. Once inside, I locked the door and shined the light in the thing's direction, but nothing was there. I shut the curtains to the screen door and retreated back to bed. But later on in the night, I heard tapping on the screen door, like someone was tapping on the glass with their fingers. It was consistent and did not stop for nearly an hour. Midnight seemed to stare at the door, but he wouldn't go near it anymore. The weirdest part was that I had a feeling like someone was inviting me to open the door. But at the same time, I kept hearing my dad's voice in my head, telling me to stay in bed and to not do it. I listened to my dad's voice and I just stayed where I was, passed out, and eventually woke up in the morning and everything was normal. The rest of the week I spent there was non-eventful and nothing else out of the ordinary happened. I totally admit that it could have all been in my head. A lot of stuff was going on at the time and I was pretty fucked up from all the drama. Edit. Just to clarify for everyone asking why I stayed after, I think at the time I was really trying to convince myself that it was just all my imagination. My mind playing tricks on me. I really had nowhere else that I had to be, and I enjoyed the isolation from all my friends and family at the time. After my dad's death, I was never alone and just needed some time to myself. You know, I'm a huge fan of Tarzan, and he was a man in the forest, but again, I'm glad that's on my TV screen and not in real life. I could not imagine seeing a man in the trees at night, alone in a cabin, just staring at me. I couldn't imagine it. I also wonder, like, was this man wearing clothes? Was he like in a suit? Was he like naked? Was he dressed like Tarzan? Was it like, you know, leaves? I don't know. I'm like, what was this man wearing? Was it a man? I don't know. Maybe it was like a humanoid Bigfoot kind of thing going on. I kind of wish he would have shined his flashlight on it just to like really make out what he saw. Yeah, I don't rock with that. No. Whoa_throwaway writes, I was living in an apartment with 3 roommates at the time. I was working all sorts of weird hours and would stay up late most nights. Our apartment had 2 hallways that formed a capital L. My room was at the top of the L. The bathroom was in the corner where the lines would meet, with the door being in the inside of the middle of the small section. In the outside corner was the living room. I walked out of my room to go to the bathroom. No need to turn the light on, as this was a track I had made hundreds of times before. As I left the bathroom, I turned to go back to my room. Just as I turned off the lights in the bathroom, there, standing where the short hallway and the living room met, was a teenage girl just standing there, wearing a white flowery dress, just smiling. She didn't look evil, just a normal person standing there smiling at me. I freaked the fuck out and went running for my room. About 20 minutes later, I finally came out of my room, turning on all the lights as I went through the apartment. She was nowhere to be seen. However, where I saw her standing was noticeably colder than the rest of the apartment, especially for an evening in August. Creepy, but not the worst part. I lived there for about another year, and I never saw her again. After I'd moved out, I was hanging out with one of my old roommates who had the bedroom at the end of the small hallway, right next to the bathroom. We were talking and I told him that I never felt comfortable in the apartment after something happened, to which he responded, "Oh, you saw her too?" I nearly drove off the road when I heard this. We both described her, finishing off each other's sentences describing her. He had seen her twice. I was indifferent about ghosts before that. Now I believe in them, or believe in something. It was very creepy, and every time I tell the story, the hairs stand up on my arms. I mean, I guess it's good that she was like nice, just a cutesy little girl in a flowery dress just smiling at someone at night, but yeah, I would not feel safe in that apartment either. No, I'm gonna take this off. I need to find some spring face masks or skincare, but I have these. They contain vitamin C and retinol. Yes, those look like oranges, so I'm hoping there's a scent. I like a scent. I'm a scent girl. ASMR. I hope they stay on the tray. Sometimes, oh, no, there's no scent. Damn, sometimes these little eye masks don't stay on the tray. What the heck? Nope, Oh, kind of. Maybe there's a faint scent. It's very faint. I think I'm also gaslighting myself that there's a scent. Okay. Wow, these feel like those collagen masks that you can like leave on for a really long time and they dry. You can barely see that on my skin. That is my skin tone. This is the color that I need in a foundation. Oh man, that's spooky. I knew I was a little pink, but that is really pink. That matches me perfectly. Oh my gosh. You can barely see that. That's so funny. I was at Marshall's the other day and I put on some shoes that were like a baby pink and I was really excited. But then I put them on and they were my skin tone. This is also my skin tone. Pink in the package, but on my skin, it just blends in. Anyways, Make Kid Skill writes, I saw a shadow person once. I didn't know that that's what it was called until much later. I was living in a house in Laguna Beach that had been there since the 1920s. In its history, it had been a speakeasy, a brothel, and a house for smuggling illegal immigrants. One day, my new wife and I were having an argument. I can't even recall what it was about. She walked down the block to get a cup of coffee and to cool off, and I was in the house alone. The way the place was built was incredibly haphazard. There was a bedroom and a living room on one side, then a bathroom with 2 entrances. On the other side of the bathroom was a hallway that had windows in one side and 2 bedrooms on the other. From my bedroom, I could look across the hall into the bathroom, even though the bathroom was down the other hall. I was standing at my dresser and I just noticed movement out of the corner of my eye. And I looked down there. There it was. And honest to God, this gives me goosebumps typing it. 17 years later, a black figure. It was maybe 3 feet tall and it was only vaguely humanoid. It looked like black scribbles, like someone had scribbled a human shape, but the scribbles moved, like electricity arising. That's the best way to describe it. There was no sound that I could remember. I distinctly remember when I saw it, I wasn't afraid. I was just like, what the fuck? Then it noticed me looking at it. I can't say it turned around, it just focused on me, I guess. Then I was scared. I didn't move, I didn't scream, nothing. I was just frozen because it just fucking came at me. It rushed down the hallway towards me. I have no idea what it intended, but as soon as it entered the bathroom, the door closest to me just slammed. Then I screamed. I yelled for my wife, but she wasn't home. I went the fuck outside into the daylight and didn't go back in until she was home about 10 minutes later. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe I saw something supernatural. I don't know what I saw. I just don't know what it was. See, I feel like a common occurrence in these stories are people are like, I don't know what I saw, but I know I saw something. I'm like, dude, you saw a shadow person, you saw a ghost, you saw something paranormal. Because if it's 3 feet tall and it looks like a sketch of a person, that's not a human. And if it like comes at you at the speed of light, that's also not human. That's all I have to say. Okay. I'm taking off these flesh colored patches. So wild. Literally, like, if I put them here, okay, you can kind of see, but you also can't, like that. Okay, you can see, but you also can't. Alright, I'm taking them off. Magenta writes, got lost, helped by 2 ghosts in a creepy area, which I found out later was next to a graveyard. Long story. It was my first year at university. Completely new to the city and its surroundings. One evening, my friend and I decided to take a trip to the mall. It was 8 p.m. and we got on the bus that my friend claimed would take us to the mall. We ended up at an empty bus terminal and it was around 10 p.m. at that time. We waited and waited for another bus back and there was no one there but us. A while later, an old man walked by and told us that since it was so late, another bus won't be coming for an hour or so. He told us to turn and walk down the road and we'll find a bus stop in the middle where a bus will soon come. We followed his instructions and entered the single lane road with tall trees on each side. There were only a few street lamps working in the dimly lit area. The road was sort of built on a slant. Our bus stop was in the middle, so we could see all the way up and down the road, and it was a single lane road. All we could see was the road and trees on either side for at least half a mile on each side. Anyways, we were waiting and waiting. My phone battery died, and my friend had forgotten hers in the dorm room. We were starting to think there won't be any bus coming and started to panic. Then, while we were waiting, I turned around to see 2 kids with backpacks walking down the road. I was relieved to see them, and so was my friend. When they were close by, I asked them if they knew about any buses coming. They were 2 kids, maybe around 12 to 13. One was a boy and the other was a girl. They both had backpacks. Here is our conversation. Not exactly, but close. Me, Hey, do you know if there are any other buses coming? Boy, let me check. Takes phone out, walks towards the bus stop sign, but it's empty and doesn't say anything about the timing nor the stop number, just a picture of a bus. Me. The timings aren't there and there's no number to text either. I've looked at it before. Boy, still looking at the phone. Oh, it's okay. Your bus will be here in 10 minutes, I think. Meanwhile, during this conversation, my friend started talking to the girl. Girl, where are you guys from? My friend. We just started university here. What about you? Girl. Oh, we're in school. And we're just going back home from school. My friend. Oh, okay. After the boy told me that my bus would be here in 10 minutes, I turned my head to tell my friend this. Turned back, and the boy and the girl were gone. They were nowhere to be seen. I literally probably looked away for a second, max. We both looked down the road, up the road, and by the trees. They had a fence around them, but even if they were there, we would have seen them. I literally looked away for a second. Needless to say, both of us were scared as hell until our bus arrived. It was the last bus, and it was around 12:17 a.m. I know because we asked the time from the bus driver. I asked my brother about the area later. I didn't tell him what happened. He said there's a graveyard there. And then it hit me. What the hell would two 13-year-olds be doing in the middle of fucking nowhere, coming back from school at midnight? I didn't believe in paranormal activities, but I can't find an explanation for this one. Edit. I don't really remember. I just really don't know where they went. Neither does my friend. It's just something that both of us still can't explain to this day. Sorry for not updating before. I spent a lot of time trying to find these two kids. Unfortunately, since I don't know what bus we got on, and since the bus ride was more than an hour, there are too many results to narrow anything down. I'll keep looking into it to see if I find anything, and if I do, I'll post. Side note, I love to smell like vanilla. This lotion will have you smelling so good. It's so good. I put it on my hands and everywhere else. Now, her friend, and you know, I don't know what year this takes place, whatever, but like, I would assume this takes place probably before 2010 or whenever Uber and Lyft were a thing, because they seemed pretty reliant on the bus. They had cell phones, so they probably could have called someone to pick them up, but if they didn't know where they were, it could be pretty hard to have someone get you, and this is also before like sharing your location. So like, anyways, her friend messed up definitely by not checking to make sure that they went to the mall, and then also like figuring out where they were. My battery just died, I had to change it. Anyways, her friend should have double checked that they got on the right bus. Also like checking where you're going so you know where you are if something were to happen, like to tell someone like, hey, we're in Smithfield, or wherever you're going, you know? I also wonder if the old man that they talked to was also a ghost. Like, where did he come from? Just like these children. I think these ghosts in this graveyard near the bus stop, they're like, look, I've got nothing better to do. Let me help these people out. Let me tell them when their bus is coming. Let me be kind. That's kind of ghost I'd be. I'd be like, look, you're gonna go right, then you're gonna take a left, go straight a little ways, and then you'll hit it. You know, like why? Not all ghosts are here to be mischievous. They're here to help you. Here to help you get back home, because you girls need to be safe. I'd love to know, you know, like who these kids were. Also, the ghosts had cell phones. It's interesting. I love this chapstick. It smells like vanilla. They look vanilla bean. I got this from the Dollar Tree. And the piece to top off all my vanilla, this Let the Good Times Roll from Lush. Did I miss? One more for good luck. It smells so good. If you wonder what I smell like, I smell like these two things. So good. Yeah, it's pretty wild that the ghosts had a cell phone. I wonder, like, you know, there's a lot of stories about like Victorian children like running around. I feel like our ghosts will be like iPad kids. Like you'll see them run, but like they'll have an iPad in their hands, or like they'll people will come into their living rooms and it's just a kid like engulfed in an iPad, not even caring that like there's, you know, a human there. I don't know. Cool. We're gonna stop on that story. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Skincare with a Scare. If you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell to get notified anytime I post. And I will see you here next time. As always, stay spooky, my friends. Also, let me know what story I should do next. I love suggestions. What do you want to hear? You let me know. Look at my skin. I love when it's all moisturized and dewy. My lips are moisturized. I smell like a cupcake. Life is good. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Bye. Oh. Well, that hand.